Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to Dumb SEO Questions, episode 282. Each week we meet here to answer the questions asked on the SEO Questions community on, is it Google Plus? Does anyone remember? Google Plus. And also...
I remember it well. I use it.
On the dumb SEO questions.
They don't sell you user data, unlike Facebook.
I beg your pardon?
They don't sell you user data, unlike Facebook.
I'm not getting into that. Okay. All right, with us tonight we have David Roseanne. Some say he's the oldest man in SEO. David Roseanne.
Totally.
A leading internet marketer. He's based in the sunny south of England, not far from Brighton. You can find David at writingforseo.org. He keeps threatening to add a new website, but we're still waiting. Masataki Wasa is...
It's worth waiting for, it is.
I'm sure it will be. Masataki Wasa is webmaster of wasaweb.net. He is also a Google top contributor on the Google AdSense community. And you can find Masataki at wasaweb.net, wasaweb.net. Sash Meyer is a disaster recovery specialist. He's also... Masataki, by the way, is based in Wimbledon. Sash, for the moment, is in the UK, shortly about to go to the USA. And losing my train of thought, Sash is a Google top contributor on the Google Webmasters community. And Tim Capper is Google top contributor on the Google My Business community. He's based in Corby, about 100 miles north of London. And you can find Tim at onlineownership.com. All right, our first question tonight is titled Phone Number Set Up for One Business, which has multiple locations. Thank you, Twitter, mucking me up. All right, let's have a look at the first one. It's posted by, goodness me, doesn't say. We might have a fail with our software tonight, guys. Can somebody find this question?
Well, you mean like what he's asking? I think he. Well, whilst we're waiting on that, so essentially, from a local tracking point of view, you don't want to be using one number across all sites. That you don't want to be doing because you don't know. You won't. You just won't know who's calling from where. In the sense that you won't have the data coming if it was from the website, from the GMB page, if they've all got locations. So essentially, from a tracking point of view, one phone number is not the way to go if you want to know anything about who's calling you from when, where, or how. If you did just want one phone number, because you're not interested in where they're coming from or tracking or understanding the business, that would just literally be a discussion not for us, but for your phone company on how they could achieve that. You know, there's depending on where you are, there's going to be multiple different types of solutions. Something like that probably be cloud-based. If you were going to use that, probably be a cloud-based phone system. But speak to different providers and see what they can offer you. I'd just like to say that's probably less than ideal in terms of for SEO and understanding where the traffic and phone calls are coming from.
See, it's also down to how are you fielding these calls. You know, is every depot, every locksmith, every whatever franchisee, whatever they happen to be, is it coming directly to them, or is it coming into one central location and then the work is frittered out from there, the contracts are frittered out from there? Because I mean, as far as it goes, you can turn around if every depot, every franchisee has a number already, then with kind of IP sniffing, you can probably serve the right number to the right visitors with reasonable accuracy. You know, or if you want to go the simple and cheap route, Skype does a number of multi-number setups that you can get to a central location relatively easy, so you at least know which number is being called.
Okay. All right. I'll just have to load our run list, I think. Where is it? Sorry, guys.
In answer to the next one, no.
All right. I've just been talking to a friend of mine, and apparently it's a Facebook policy that is causing that. Bugger you, Mr. Zuckerberg. Anyway, okay, so let's use this to do our questions tonight, and we'll try and figure out something for it next week. This one from Mia Swed on a post in the Facebook group. He said, should I name all of my product photos in the same name of the best keyword? The same for the alt.
No.
Can we do a synchronized answer all together now? No.
No.
Okay. I see Alan Blue Eyes.
I think Alan Blue Eyes pretty much nailed it.
Yeah, that's right. He said naming and alternate attributes need to communicate what the image is. Using words not specific to that is harmful to humans and SEO quality and trust.
Man, the last time I started snorting image tags that didn't reflect the content of the image, I got such a headache.
Don't give up your day job, says. All right. If that is enough there, our next one is posted by Shannon Jade, again on the Facebook group. It's titled, I Can't Even See My Site in Google. Shannon said, hey all, complete newbie here. I have created an online store via Shopify, and I'm now looking into SEO as I can't even see my site in Google unless I use the actual business name. Please help as to where I should start. I have no clue. And she gives a domain, www.dearisla.com.au. How about it, guys? Don't all fight over it.
I'm looking.
Oh, there's some content on the product pages, which was going to be my first guess, but no. But is it the same for all of them?
Let's have a look.
T-shirt. Okay.
Oh yeah, I've just done a content spot check. It's pretty much
Yeah.
it's same thing on every product page, which is not ideal. Basically, the problem here is that there seems nothing key site that can't be found on a 10,000 other sites selling very similar products. The fact that there are no product descriptions really doesn't help this at all. Let's see about images. How about one?
Okay, so
once again, the actual images, I'm finding the product images pretty much here, there, and everywhere. So there really is there's no unique value proposition, as the spam team likes to call it, here. So I would say create some uniqueness for your site. First and foremost, read the Google Webmaster Guide. I say this with tongue firmly in cheek, but read the Google Webmaster Guidelines and the Google SEO Starter Guide to actually get at least a beginning on what you've got to do here.
Okay, so basically the issue here is lack of unique content. And the only way to no, sorry, run it past me again, please, David. What was your criticism?
Mine was the same as myself. I first looked at it and said, "Oh, good. There's a nice chunk of content on there." Now I've got to check whether it's the same as elsewhere, and indeed it was. And my other half here of myself did it in greater depth, so I just shut up and let me do it.
Okay. All right, let's move down to number 4 on our run list. We've got some things working again. We're missing a few images still, but this ongoing thing with Facebook privacy is making life a bit tough for us. David Gizzarelli asked a question. It's titled, "My SEO troubles seem to be location." From memory, I think this was answered really well on the Facebook group, Dumb SEO Questions. He said, David said, "My question is location. Depending on where I am, my Google rank changes based on general keywords. My SEO performs well on location-specific searches, but not on broader terms. How do I reach other nearby cities with general keywords? Do I need to create pages for each city or specify a region? Thanks for your thoughts." David Gizzarelli.
Go on, somebody else take it. I'm not going to hog it.
We're just trying to see if you know more than one thing, Sash.
I know plenty of things.
Okay, so Google's pretty good at figuring out sort of what services you offer and where. However, and they typically do that based upon your structure. So a typical thing where you either have a typical structure would be, "Hi, welcome to Pink Fluffy," right? And you have your category pages. These are the services offer at Pink Fluffy. These are Meet the Team at Pink Fluffy, any privacy and contractual policies at Pink Fluffy. Then, so you have all your content on what Pink Fluffy offers. And then you would have some location, you know, where does Pink Fluffy, so whether you have actual physical location, you would have location pages. And from there, Google can figure out, so, oh, okay, he's got a location, physical in look, you know, state A, and he serves these towns based upon that page. I understand that, right? That's where you are. And then he knows that you've obviously got all your service pages, and that's where you service. Then you may have a warehouse, a Fluffy warehouse in another location, that your distribution point, and you have a page for that. Google understands that this is where you are, and these services or products are distributed from there. So yes, you do need to have a location page, or at least build some form of specific kind of location-based content for a specific product or service. If you don't have that location page or near, semantically near, then Google is not really going to kind of figure that out. You do need to have some kind of indicators where, let's say you're just in one main location, but you do a job 20 miles or 40 miles or 60 miles away, then you're not really going to go and create a location page just on, you know, but it could do with a really well thought out either case study or article on that particular job you did in that area. And then you can start looking at building into, you know, you could start looking at building into, as you do more and more, you could start then creating a location-based page, because you do service the area now with a specific service. So you are going to need kind of location pages in some way or form, unless, you know, Google can obviously know that, yeah, right, you do provide services. You can also define that within your structured data. If you're a service-based company, you can define your radius of service from a particular location. So let's just say, for example, well, I'm based Corby, right? But in my radius, I can say, and I can specifically target Corby, like proper, as in central, and then say I provide my services, you know, upwards of 50 to 60 miles away. You can also specify that. But yeah, you are going to need location pages if you really primarily want to target specific areas. But you still need to create, you know, content around that to back it up, in the sense, I mean, unless it's some tiny little town, normally location page will suffice, will be strong enough, depending on the authority of a site, just to sit there. You've probably seen them before, like some random little town, boom, there's like a plumber servicing it. When you actually look on it, he's like 50 miles the other direction. But in a competitive niche, those kind of random location pages aren't going to work. You really need to work on them, structure them properly. You know, which of the services can you provide in the area, which don't you provide in the area, which do you have an actual shop, who's servicing the shop, which team services that particular area, things like that. Are there any geographical specific limitations to the area? So let's say you're installing aerials in a particular area. I can only install this one because the signal coming from X, Y, and Z is not strong enough. You see what I mean? They need to be location-based specific. You can't just boilerplate template location pages out. So anyway, yeah, I hope that's given you a better idea.
Brilliant answer, Tim. The only question I have, I mean, 60 miles from Corby, that'd put you in the middle of the English Channel, wouldn't it?
No, mate. No, not quite. Anyway, yeah, it do. Actually, but not in the English Channel. I'd have to be, yeah, slightly other direction.
Okay. All right, you go on.
I think the average is, I think, 74 miles furthest point you can get from the coast in the UK. I think something like that.
It's about 180, but good try.
All right.
See, I do know more than one thing.
Let's go to number 5 on our run list. We've got 18 to cover tonight. This one from Blesson Thomas Thotemcole. It's titled "Nearly 1,000 transferred automatically to the new webmaster." He said, "Hi, I recently installed Secure Socket Slayer, and then I added the new webmaster in HTTPS URL. I think what he means Google Search Console. But anyway, in the HTTP URL webmasters, the total count of links was 1,500. After adding the new webmasters, nearly 1,000 transferred automatically to the new listing on Google Search Console, but nearly 500 backlinks are still showing in the old domain profile. Which is the best way to acquire the remaining to the new HTTPS webmasters? Is it required to delete the old webmaster's property? Who can offer some clarity to Blesson?
It depends on a couple of things. A, Search Console, Webmaster Tools, whatever the hell they're calling it this week, is not the most up-to-date animal on the planet. So it can actually take a good while to show all the links kind of filtering through. Secondly, it also depends, have you 301'd all the different versions of your site properly to the new HTTPS profile, or is stuff going astray because it's not being redirected without kind of knowing a URL? That's impossible to gauge. That is a possibility, but unless I can look at it, I can't say for definite.
Thank you, Sash. Anybody else? Right, we'll call that covered then and move on to the next. This one is from Dragomir Victor, and he wants to know what is the best way to get rid of the Google My Business page. Dragomir said, "Hi guys, I have a customer who wants to erase the page, but I know that is not possible. The problem is that he has had a bad review and it's affecting his business." He said, "I thought to make a page with another domain, very different from the one he owns, and change the owner of the Google My Business listing to another firm. The idea is to index that page with a certain topic and link it with Google My Business. Is that okay, or do you have another way?"
Okay, mate. Right. I love the way, like, I've got a bad review. Jesus, my whole world's crashing down. Yeah, listen, one single review and loss of business and having, I'm sorry, but there's another problem. It's probably when they phone up and go, "Hi, can you do this?" And they go, it's probably something else than actually one single bad review. So, yeah, and you're correct. It's not because there's been a review, it's not actually going to, even if you deleted it, it would just simply become unverified. So let me just, so what was your thought? I thought of to make another page with another domain, change the OMB to another firm. So, right, so look, yeah, that could work essentially. You would need to change the phone number because you would also need to change the phone number because that would be linked to the GMB. So essentially you're going to have to change phones. You're going to obviously then, let's say you create the domain. Yeah, that can work. They would still be on the same address unless you actually physically went and shifted it to another address. Fine. The problem is, and this is something you need to think about, what happens when the next bad review comes along on this whole thing? Are you going to then go through the whole thing of creating another domain, switching telephone numbers, changing phone numbers for a negative review. I mean, it's insane, mate. It's absolutely insane. You know, I'm assuming that this guy has been in business for a while, and I'm assuming he has got some happy customers. So the first thing you're going to do is create a nice little, you know, email and, you know, mail shot. You're going to this month's news, and at the end of it, you're going to ask for people to let you know how you're doing at business and kindly review you, and build that into your standard operating practice of asking people to review. Just, you know, I really don't think I really think you should explain to this guy the problem, the massive problem of trying to do this over one single review, because there's going to be more reviews. There's good, bad, and in between. And you can't do this every time. You know, if you have a bad review, deal with the bad review. Use it. Understand what went wrong, and build it into your system so that it doesn't go wrong again. You know, and even thought about actually responding to him and apologizing and say, you know, because you can reply in GMB. And you can, oh shit, I'm terribly sorry. You had a bad experience. That's not what we intend for any of our customers. Please contact us, you know, on our helpline number, and you can leave that in there, or you know, you can put your email address, and we would love to try and see if we can solve this problem for you. That's what business is about. That's what business owners face every single day. And to this whole rigmarole of over one, and then 2 weeks another one, I think you're just making a rod for your own back. It can be done. You can go down the road you want to go, but if you go down that road, you just, you know, it will eventually come up through. You're going to run out of telephone numbers. You're going to run out of domains, diminishing your main domain all the time anyway. Creating random websites just so you can divert GMB pages. It's too much hassle, man.
See, I'll throw something on the end of that one. I've got a client over in Florida who had an overall, I mean, after sort of 3 or 4 years in business, had an overall review rate of 1.8. Customer service was shocking by the time I got there. He actually started again, fresh domain, fresh yada, yada, yada. And I beat him with his stick to tackle his reviews, his customers properly, to actually ask for positive reviews, to stay on top of stray orders, stuff like that. And so it is possible for this to actually get so bad that one review ain't gonna, but if it's facing something like that, where over the course of years it's just built up so many negative reviews that people take one look and go, ha, no. Then, yeah, start again. But you need to start again with a fresh process, like Tim has just said. Follow Tim's blueprint, you know. But again, it depends on where you are right now. Certainly for 1 or 2 bad reviews, nah, not worth it.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it's like, for example, I get the same thing, same similar situation. I worked with a very large hotel chain, and you know, they were always constantly going on about, oh, we need more traffic. Same again, you know, their reviews were mediocre. They weren't always that bad, but it's like, oh, we need more traffic. And I'm like, hang on a second. You know, overall, you've only got 50,000 rooms to sell, but we send you 6 times the amount of traffic on a monthly basis. So essentially, you could be filling up in 1 month, filling up your entire hotel for the whole year, if you actually trained your staff, customer service, you know, upselling, the people handling the telephones. You can only do so much. And this is what I think you need to explain to your client also. You can only do so much for his business, but he needs to run that business and convert those clients and upsell on a daily basis. You can't do that for him. And I think you need to be really strong with him. And if a client literally can't actually, you know, If they can't do that, they are going to ultimately run their own business into the ground. And you don't want to be around when that happens because your reputation will be going with it. So, you know, you need to either educate them. If they can't be educated, then, you know, find ones that want to make a success of themselves.
See, and I mean, this is my bag, as Jim said, is disaster recovery, but it's not just penalty recovery, because most of the time you've got to shore up the takings, the earning with whatever happens to be left, and getting the process under control and getting the most out of the visitors, users you've got is a part. And unless you're doing that, you can fix the rest all you want, but you're still just going to be at best limping along. You'll never make a success of it.
Yep.
Ooh, excuse me.
Excellent answers, guys. It's a privilege to be here. All right, let's move on to number 7 on our run list tonight from Martin Maguire. It's titled Implementing hrelang tags. Martin said, "Hi guys, quick question on geo-targeting. I have a client who has a single .com domain in English. However, they target all over the world. They don't want to use country-specific domains, etc. Martin wants to know if he is right in thinking that implementing hrelang tags on the site can help signal to Google that the countries they are targeting."
I mean, the qualification that comes after, even though there's only one version of this site, it just doesn't make sense then, right? You only have one page that targets all English speakers. It would only make sense to have hreflang if you have separate pages localized to different places. So you might have different spelling conventions. So you might have a page in US English and another in British English, or you might have prices in different currencies. So you might have a page that's in British pounds, and you might have one in euros that targets Ireland, for example. So unless you have different versions of the page, it doesn't make any sense, because hreflang states essentially the equivalent of this page in this language locale combination is this. So if you have only one, then that's the only page you have.
Exactly. No, and I mean, at the very minimum, you know, like you said, currencies, local contact details, stuff like that. There has to be multiple versions.
Yeah. Even if he doesn't have hreflang tags, nothing is stopping his site appearing in other countries, providing that when he does appear for a search in another country, he's got something there that somebody in that country wants. Google's continually testing pages, but they won't remain if the user experience is not good. Does that make sense?
Totally. Also, and I mean, depends on what you're doing. What are you doing? Are you selling palm readings via touchscreen, or are you shipping stuffed toys? I mean, what is the goal of reaching all these countries?
Yeah. So even without hreflang tags, it could be a matter of making new pages targeted to a specific country, that for specific local conditions, and that would give them a similar outcome. Anyway,
and when there is a similar page or the equivalent page, then it makes sense to have hreflang. But not unless you have the equivalent pages for different locales.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next. It's number 8 on our run list from Sweeta Sidhu. Sweeta said, what do we need to do to regain good ranking? Sweeta said, hi, if there is a sudden drop in ranking, what would be the reason and what do we need to do to regain good ranking?
Well, it depends what, yes, it could be one of hundreds of reasons. You might have done something to attract a manual penalty. I suppose you might have even gone on to mobile first indexing, and if your site doesn't measure up mobile wise, you could have lost it. But without seeing the site, I would be reduced to sitting here trying to think up all the reasons that could have broken your site, as far as Google's concerned. I don't know. How's everyone with their palm readings or their crystal balls? You got crystal balls, Tim?
Yeah, fuck, I got golden balls, mate. No fucking crystal, fucking golden, mate. Golden. Yeah. Yeah, look, it's difficult to say without looking at it. It could be a ton of things. Google changes a lot of things. For me, I know there was like a very highly specific kind of location-based update in the last main core update. So, are you mainly location-based? You need to give us a bit more info. So, with location-based, they really tightened up. Their location-specific queries, especially with the local pack and displaying properties within a specific location. Search query, it could be 100, loads of other things. Obviously links, it doesn't have to be a manual penalty, it could be an algorithmic one. Your links could just be crap. Did you robots txt this file, the site, for some reason? There's just a ton of possibilities. So if he hasn't provided, if you can provide us, and we can have a quick little look at something for you next week. Give us your domain and we can maybe play around and see if we can spot anything that stands out of the ordinary.
Okay, that's the thing. There's so many possibilities, and it's so much easier if we do have a URL that we can check on. So many gotchas that are easy wins. If only we knew which domain had the issue, is experiencing the issue. Anyway, that's a pretty good answer for Sweeta. Let's move on to the next. It's number 9 on our run list. 9 down, 9 to go. Ryan Callum asks a question titled Europe's new General Data Protection Regulation, GDPR. Ryan said, I'm having a hard time understanding Europe's new GDPR and any obligations my company or clients may have. We were only talking about this last week in the green room. I tried to read up on it, but get sidelined with the jargon. He said I would consider this a dumb question. Can anyone shed any light on anything I may need to do, i.e. add a notice to my website or my client's about data and privacy page, or just any info on the subject at all?
Okay, so without getting technical at all, because my brain was like looking at this and I was like, I just gave up. So these are the little couple of little things. So this you should already have on your site and your and your site and your client site is obviously the little notice about cookies, you know, when they come in. That's been around for 10 years. And the point being here is that was in our information, blah, 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 frickin' whatever thing for the last 10 years. As far as I'm aware, no one's ever been prosecuted. So, you know, what I'm saying, I don't want to be prosecuted, but they've never prosecuted anyone for that, you know, that initially, so I don't see it ever happening. So, but the first thing is you want to have that little privacy statement when a new user comes to your site. You do need to update your privacy policy, and at least depending on the size of the organization, you need to obviously have a privacy control flipping officer or something, and you need to nominate who they are. You need to let them know what data you're storing. You know, you need to provide, if somebody writes to you, you need to be able to nominate a privacy officer, and they need to be able to provide what data you ever stored on them. Do you take their credit card details, or is that done by a third party? 99% of the time it's done by a third party through either a bank, you know, like Amex, Visa, anything like that, 99% of the time. I don't know actually anyone that processes their own credit cards, or you do it through a third-party provider like PayPal or whatever. So you would just obviously mention whatever provider you're using, because then the user can theoretically go, well, who's got my credit card data? And then you would say, well, these are who we use. We use Visa, and we use Barclaycard. Barclaycard provides the card machine. Therefore, for that information, you need to contact them. Or we use PayPal for this information. This is their privacy policy. You can contact them for that. For any other name and address details, you contact our privacy officer. And that should pretty much cover you, mate. Apart from that, you need to then waffle through the jargon or wait until some other site actually provides some decent stuff. I mean, I'm looking at Michael's thing here. I'm just checking out all these. That's even killed my brain now. My brain's bleeding already. So yeah. Yeah, it's a bit of a nightmare, but those are the basic premises around it. So privacy policy, and at least your warning notice that you use cookies on site, or at least Google uses cookies via your analytics. And obviously nominate a thingamajig, update your privacy and cookie policies, and then you're good to go, mate. I doubt there's ever going to ever be a prosecution on a normal site.
No, I think what they would do is go after the big players. And, you know, for example, Google might be in trouble if the users of analytics, let's say, don't have a proper system displayed on their sites. So instead of going to each site with Google Analytics code on it, you know, the commission might go after Google saying, look, you know, you are processing the data. So what's up with this? So in a sense, I think for small sites, the risks of being prosecuted or being pursued legally, those chances are probably very low. However, it will be interesting to see how the big sites like Google, Facebook, you know, because people often have the Facebook like button. That means that Facebook is collecting data from your site about your visitors. And how are they going to sort of square that circle, saying, you know, I don't think it's sufficient now to have a warning at the top of the screen saying this site uses cookies for various purposes, because the idea is that you have to have an explicit opt-in consent that's discrete. So it has to be clear to the visitor what the purpose of that cookie is, whether people agree to that cookie being set, and importantly, any visitor has the right to revoke that consent at any time. So it has to be clear where and how a person can revoke that consent. And it's a huge risk, because I've been going, you know, I've been reading up on this, and the answers seem to be different whom you ask and what sources you read. The most restrictive one would mean that you're going to have about 200 pop-ups whenever you visit a site, because then you have to say, oh, I agree to analytics being collected. Oh, I agree to AdSense being shown. I'm going to agree to Facebook collecting data on this site. Same with Twitter. Same with Instagram. Same with Pinterest. Can you imagine just having to say yes or no to all 200 odd cookies that are being set on a site? But that's how everything goes.
I've noticed, for example, well, I suppose the two that you want to keep an eye on is Blogger, how they're dealing with that.
Yeah.
And also also the business sites, and the business sites. The funny thing there is the Google business sites attached to the GMB pages all have analytics tracking code, the same analytics tracking code, which is one main analytics from Google itself, tracking all of these sites, and they don't even have they don't have any it's so we'll just keep an eye on those and see how they deal with that.
Yes.
I'm not sure whether you covered all the kind of services that you've got plugged into your site as well. You know, if you use MailChimp for emailing, you've got to make sure that they have a GDPR statement to say that they're compliant. Depending on who you talk to, if you're on shared hosting, you may not be able to claim a high level of GDPR compliance, because there's a chance that one of the other sites on the server will get hacked, and they will be and the hackers will be able to get your site. So what I've been told, and I haven't been able to verify it, is that you really need to be on something like a VPS rather than a shared host to be fully compliant.
Yeah, but I think at the end of it, I think everybody's like literally overanalyzing this, like completely, because I think the point of this at the end of the day is for the user to be able to know where and who has collected the data. So as long as you can provide any data that you've collected, so that in your privacy policy, this is our officer, if we have over I think it's 200 or 250 employees or whatever, something like that, or I don't know. You just basically got to be able to provide whatever data that you've collected. So if you're not an e-com site and you have just a contact us page, I mean, literally it's like for any data you've sent to us via your e-commerce page, contact us here. And these are the other things that we use. Google, there's the contact for that. Social sharing, the easiest thing to use would be to use a one provider on your social sharing, which would be, let's say, whichever plugin you've used, boom, there's the contact details for that if you want to know who's actually stored. So I think we are totally, if they wanted to nitpick this whole thing, that could be that. But for your average business, average site out there, literally, if you say we collect analytics, that's Google's responsibility. If we collect, we use social sharing plugin, this is the company that provides that. That's their responsibility. There's their contact details. And the contact us page that you've used, you can contact us on X, Y, and Z number, or ironically, use the contact us page.
Yeah. Well, the only thing I'm certain of is that if anyone is ever prosecuted, it'll be you and me, Tim. Anyway, I tell you, my thoughts on this are that this is a case of legislators not understanding how business works. So, I mean, not many people store data on cookies anymore because user habits have changed. People research on the mobile, usually at work, and that buy on the desktop when they get home at night. So having a cookie on a mobile phone when somebody's making a purchase on a desktop, there's no connect. Most people are storing data in the shopping cart database these days. Look, I just want to point out Michael Martinez on our Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group. He does an amazing job, a real contributor, and he's. I was having trouble getting my head around it, even though I listened to Tim talking about it last week. I still didn't have a grip on this, but he's made a great post on our Facebook group, and anybody only needs to search for Michael Martinez on the left-hand side, and you can find it. Sorry, Masataki, I interrupted you.
Oh no, I interrupted you. As, people use mobile and then desktop. If they use a Chrome browser they signed into, for example, there might be cross-device sort of tracking of the person.
I'm fairly sure that even if they were using Chrome, not Safari, on the mobile, let's just say, for argument's sake, they were using Chrome on the mobile and Chrome on the desktop, and that'd be extremely rare. Most people still use Safari, but even if the Google account wouldn't store that data, I'm fairly sure. But then again, maybe not.
I can't remember what's shared. If you synchronize your browsers between different devices, which I think you can do on Chrome, for example. So when you erase your history on Chrome, that not only erases on the device itself, it could be desktop, but on other linked ones. Or am I making this up? Because I thought that was the case. I thought there were certain. I'm not so sure how that works. It certainly wouldn't work with cookies, but in terms of someone signed in, and then if the account could be linked one way or the other between different devices, then it's arguable that the person is being identified and tracked.
Yeah, actually, it's probably worthwhile in the green room when we finish the broadcast tonight. Let's have a look at that. All right, let's move on to the next. We've got 10 down, 8 to go. Aditya Baba asked a question titled, Google is indexing my URLs, but in the cache it is showing 404. What should I do? I think the issue is, as Benj Ariola said on the Facebook group, it's not your 404, it's Google's 404. And there's nothing that you can do. It's a bug in Google, apparently. Everyone happy with that one? We can move on to the next. Number 11, Nisongo Pothic has a question titled, should I index about us, contact us, disclaimer, and privacy policy pages, as well as the user sitemap page?
Yep.
Should we have a joint yep? Everyone puts their hand up. It's unanimous.
Yeah.
We're not fucking monkeys, Jim.
Tim Capper talks and our viewers just drop off. This is for general exhibition.
I'm just curious what prompted this question, though, because we've seen this question before. So there must be an idea going through circulating that states that these pages shouldn't be indexed. So, I want to know what the rationale behind that argument would be.
I think the argument is that you're not going to have a lot of content on contact us on most sites. Do you really want your people finding your disclaimer? Is that going to really help the customer who's not on your site and thinking about purchasing from you? And probably the same with privacy policy. The other thing is that most damn privacy policies and disclaimers are the same as other sites, or even lifted from other sites, dare I say. So I think About Us is probably the only one that's got any definite value to it.
See, the thing is, as far as it goes, this all started with the disclaimers and the privacy policies and people trying to page rank sculpt, which is probably one of the biggest wastes of time in the universe of SEO. And from there it went, well, actually, while we're trying to keep the page rank flowing, let's no index to contact us pages, which then brings with it a completely different set of consequences. But I mean, as far as it goes, if it's now gotten to the stage where they're talking about no indexing About Us and sitemaps, you're no indexing the sitemap page, what kind of a moron are you? You special kind of idiot? You know, if it's now gotten to this stage, then tinfoil sales must be up. That's all I can say.
Yep. Okay. I think we can move on there. Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
Actually, Sash, tinfoil sales are up, mate. Because have you seen them on YouTube now? They're crunching the whole thing and compressing it and polishing it into a highly polished. No word of a lie. This is a freaking rage at the minute. Just check it out. Polished tinfoil ball. Polished tinfoil balls. So
are they snorting it?
Have you got those as well?
Tinfoil sales are up. I kid you not.
It's a meme.
There is no.
All right. And look, before we move on, let's leave with the words of Michael Martinez to Nsongo. Michael said, when Nsongo said, should I index these pages? Michael Martinez said, yes, absolutely, yes, without a doubt, unquestionably, comma, yes. All right, let's tweet that, and we'll move on to the next. This one is number 12 on our run list. It's from Chad Glass. It's titled Two Sites on the Same IP Address. Chad said, not sure if this is a dumb question or not, so here goes. I hope this makes sense. I have site A, which is currently 6 months old, on a particular niche that's growing each month. And I'm thinking of adding a second site B, which will be in a different niche and indirectly related to site A, which means I could drive some traffic, brackets not all, from B to A. Should I host both of these on the same server sharing the same IP? And if so, could it attract penalties from Google? Assume the worst and you won't be disappointed.
There is that.
Alan Blue Eyes said, if anything is done intentionally to deceive or trick Google through artificial means, it is vulnerable to a penalty. I don't think Google's really caring about the IP address.
It rather depends on, again, what you're doing, how you're going to do it. Are you going to have 16 million links in your footer on both sides, linking from one to the other? This is almost a how long is a piece of string question. It's there needs to be a lot more detail here to give any kind of quantitative answers. But under normal circumstances, yeah, I think Jim's right. I mean, it's like if you're just gonna be within the normal realm of running sites in an online business, IP doesn't matter. It's when you start getting silly about it.
Yeah, the other thought is that if you're using a CDN, your site's going to be served from hundreds of IP addresses. It doesn't matter what the origin site is. Anyway, let's call that an answer. We'll tweet it and we'll move on to the next. This one from Yasir Khan. It's titled, "Will it count as an increased bounce rate?" Yasir said, "Our website homepage is ranking on the first page of Google for our main business keyword. We are making the website automated and adding a sign-up/sign-in form on the homepage, which will take the user to a subdomain of our main domain. Will it count as increased bounce rate, or will it be okay, as seen by you guys, the SEO specialists?" He said, "I have read mixed reviews on blogs and forums, and I am really concerned. Expert advice is needed. Thanks." Well, guys, I'm seeking some expert advice from you.
Well, in analytics, you're certainly going to see your bounce rate go up unless you really customize your parameters. I mean, that's, it's going to a separate domain straight from your homepage. So yeah, is it going to affect your SEO? Chances are not. But there again, it much depends on what else is going on your site. My question would be, why are you aggregating your sign up, sign in to a subdomain? Again, I'd like to see what's going on.
Yep. Anybody else? All right. Yasir, I hope you're happy with that, and thank you for your question. This one from Saad Marcel. He said, "I can't see the research analytics and keywords I'm ranking for." Saad said, "Hello, community. I have a dumb question that's messed me around for a while." He said, "I created my second website a month and a half ago now." He said, "The thing is, I can't see the research analytics and keywords I'm ranking for, and I already know I'm on a search engine results page in location 1 for many keywords. The webmaster of my first website works." I don't get that, but anyway. He said, "I tried adding all domain, subdomain, and HTTPS domain to Google 1 week ago, but that didn't work either. Help me, I feel blind without webmaster tool." The webmaster tool.
Yeah, I think what he means is the webmaster tools of his website works in showing some keywords and whatnot, and the other site, webmaster tools, is lagging behind. A month and a half seems like quite a while, but I know it can take ages before you see any kind of usable data with a new site in webmaster tools as such.
Yeah, and I mean, even then, the data in webmaster tools, it's not all the data. It's just a representative sample.
No, not at all. That's it. Have you linked your analytics with your webmaster tools account, because that will help as well. Speed things up and give you kind of a less, not a better, but a less terrible overview.
Yeah, and the other thing I'd say to Saad, if the site's a month and a half old, I just set the start record. Make sure that you've got the Google Analytics code on every page, so that you're recording your data. But then forget all about it and focus on improving your site, because while you're devoting all of your time to checking stats and looking for what's showing up or not, you could be doing something useful, which would, might make your site so much better. Anyway, let's look at the next one. This one for Gemma Fong. It's titled Steps to Do When Rebranding a Company Name. Gemma said that the client is rebranding the company name, logo, web URL, but the address remains the same. His Google My Business has 5 good reviews. Should we edit the existing and just change out the name and URL, or start anew? My thoughts are that it may be difficult to give a new page altogether with an existing address, brackets, in the local pack. That's the thing, isn't it? That they only really allow one user per location, don't they, Tim?
So, yeah, hang on. So logo, the URL, address is the same. So yeah, just change the name in the GMB page. Simple as. Yeah, just change the name.
Cool. And we should all questions were as well.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, and don't forget to go down the road of chasing all of the citations business citations that you have out there. I mean, essentially, it'll only be a name update because everything else will be the same. The the URL, the address. I'm assuming the phone number is still the same. So, but you're still going to need to chase down and update names. And another quick win, not necessarily to do it on the local side, is anybody that's ever linked to you with the old name, you want to chase down and have them change the name, on that branded link.
Okay. All right, let's tweet that and we'll move on to the next. Number 16 on our run list, 2 to go. It's titled, it's for Sabash Baznet, and it's titled XML Sitemap File Name and Location. He said, normally I do www.website.com/sitemap.xml to check sitemap, but my client has website.com/sitemap_index.xml. Is this the normal structure for a sitemap? It says generated by Yoast, and the result shows post-sitemap.xml and page-sitemap.xml. It's confusing.
This is for when you have a sitemap on its own, just one sitemap, which is the first instance here, sitemap.xml. The other one is I can't remember the technical term now, but when you have separate parts of your sitemaps, and sitemap index.xml is literally an index to them. So you've got several sitemaps. You've got post sitemap, which surprisingly has got your posts in. You might have pages sitemap, which have your pages in. You might have categories sitemap, which will have your categories in, and so on and so forth. And that's I noticed that Lisa Brown talks about Yoast here. Oh yes, you mentioned Yoast in your question. Yeah, Yoast does that. It's if you go in and select go in and select the bits of the site that you want put into the sitemap, into the XML sitemap. That's it. So there's nothing to worry about. They're both acceptable. They'll both help. So yes. So if you're using a WordPress site and you want a little bit more granularity on the data in your sitemap .xml file, go and have a shufti through Yoast, and you'll see the options there.
Fantastic, David. Thank you. Oh, look, the only thing I'd add with that, the reason for that sitemap _index, if I'm not wrong, it's because if you have more than 50,000 URLs on a site, you'll need to use one or more sitemaps, and the first a sitemap is an index which points to where the other two sitemaps are. All right, let's
posts or pages or whatever, wherever you've got another set of sitemaps, it points to them.
And the XML file could be any name, right? It's not like robots.txt or ads.txt. It doesn't have to be sitemap.xml or sitemap _index.xml. You could give any name, right? To sitemap.
Yeah, that's right. Any name, any location.
Mm.
All right, let's move on to number 17, the penultimate question from Aditya Baba. It's titled Maintain Rankings on the Top Page of Google, which is a worthy aspiration. We all know Google updates its algorithm regularly, 2 times a day, as per SEO experts' ranking varies due to these updates. But some companies can maintain their rankings on the top page of Google regardless. Can I know how this is done? Great answer there on the Dumb SEO Questions Facebook group from Francois Pierre Marcel.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think I would say that the ones that in a simpler language, the sites that maintain their rankings do a lot of good things right in quantity, and changes to the algo will not affect them so much as a smaller site that does certain things right and has certain things that they're vulnerable to. It's one of those get on the treadmill and start walking now. Just get your site up with the best across the board.
Yeah, the other thing is you're making a massive assumption because you're probably only looking at 1 or 2 particular types of search results. If you chuck any of these large companies into, let's say, for example, SEMrush, and you check out over like 50,000 keywords, they are also fluctuating on different things all the time, where they may have a very small presence on a particular piece or on their site, and because that little particular subsection doesn't have a lot of authority behind it or content or whatever built up behind it, and it's like a tiny little piece, it fluctuates or flip-flops all over the place. So you're making a massive assumption there. You're obviously just looking at one small subset. If it's a dentist, for example, you're not expecting him to rank for like tons of things. You just certain services and things like that. And you need to then it's well, you know, a pretty fairly small site, and then you need to just obviously work on the SEO and the content around dentistry as such, because that's just your main focus. That's all you do. But if you chuck in a site like eBay into SEMrush, you know, you're talking like 50 million keywords, and they flip flop all over the place all the time. So massive assumption there, just thinking that some sit and some don't. You know, you're not really looking at the full picture. But if it's a specific thing that does one kind of thing, does it well, and that's all SEO is geared around, is one product, as in a dentist, they are naturally going to be pretty stable and sit there and not be flip-flopping. But they may have a very small page and not do a lot of work on, let's say, implants, dental implants. And that, because they've only got one page and not a lot of stuff around it, they've never really concentrated on that. Their dental implant.
I think I lost a bit of data. Thank you very much for your contributions, and hopefully we can see you again next week.
I should be here next week. Yes, absolutely. Catch you later. Bye.
Cool, mate. See you later. All right, that's covered question 17. Let's look at our last question for tonight. Don't know what's going on there. I've clicked the wrong button. That's what it is. What an idiot. This one from Toka Janalides. He said, I don't see my page ranking for it or related keywords. He said, I took this keyboard for testing purposes. He means website, I think. Created content on it and built around 10 backlinks. It has been about 1 or 2 months since, but I don't see my page ranking for it or the related keywords. Not the first page, not the second, or the 100th. What does this mean? Does the content suck? Does the backlinks suck? Does it need more time to see a result? He said, or is it that the content and backlinks may be good, but the keyword is too hard to rank for with just a few backlinks? I think that's all he said. I'll scroll up. Or he said, or what?
Jim, your shared screen's gone, mate. We never saw any of that.
Oh, mate, I'm so sorry. We lost connection there for a second. I'll try and get it back. No. Sorry, mate. I can't do anything about it. We're struggling. Can we answer the question based on what I said? You can see it on your run list, on your panelist report, if you want.
Yeah, so this is the thing, you know, you're trying to rank for something where you've slapped on a couple of pages and you've gone and whacked through 10 links. You know, it doesn't sound like any kind of authoritative site to me. So why would Google assume that you are the authority on that particular search query? If you want to be, you know, playing in the game, you know, you need to be seen or be understood as the authority on a particular subject. and you know, although links do matter, I'm assuming you did, you know, if you've just gone and found these 10 links, I'm guessing that they're nothing, you know, nothing to write home about. They may, and then they're certainly not natural, seeing as you went and created them. So I would say build your brand, build your authority, and work on that. Rather than just thinking about some links and, you know, provide the best, you know, with your content. With your content, I would start looking at breaking it down into what do you provide and what do users want to search for. Did Jim just like fall off his chair or something, or what's going on there? So yeah, I would look at your content. Sorry about that. I don't know what Jim's doing. It sounds like he's taking a hammer to his keyboard. Yeah, so I would start making yourself the authority on that subject. I would break it down into every particular or possible kind of query that a user would use around that subject, and then create content. Right, I'm just going to give up talking.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we've been listening to you bash, scream, shout, smash things about.
Well, it's the Hangout. My bandwidth is fine, but for some reason or other, the Hangout is acting up. So we've lost a bit of. I didn't realise you could hear me trying to get the connection back to work again. Anyway, that was the anger. Anyway, I see we still have eyeballs watching us, and we thank you so much. Your interest in what we do makes what we do worthwhile. We'll be back at the same time next week to do this all again, but for now, it's good night, and thank you very much.